Hi, Lily.
Hello, how are you?
Good, thank you. Good, thank you. Thank you for agreeing to spend some time with me and sharing your story.
Absolutely. Thank you for the invite. That was an honor when you called me and asked me to do it.
No, thank you. Welcome to the Immigrants podcast. This is the podcast where I get to help tell and highlight stories of immigrants that are making a great impact in their adopted countries. For our new followers and listeners, my name is Munatsi Manyande. I'm originally from a country called Zimbabwe in Southern Africa, and I've lived in the United States with my family. We live in Texas. We've lived here for a number of years now, and it's a pleasure to live here and to do the work that we do here. And really now I'm enjoying, with this podcast, the opportunity to meet incredible people that sometimes have stories and backgrounds that are similar to mine and other times very different. And so I've known Lily Moore for a number of years now. She is actually a client of ours in a business that I run. And every encounter I've had with her over the years has always been pleasant, really positive. She's a professional. She's doing incredible work. And I'm really not surprised to see how successful she's become over the years, just based on the interactions that I've had with her. So I called Lily a couple of weeks ago and asked her if she would consider joining us for this Immigreats podcast interview for a number of reasons. One reason being that I think her story would really be a neat one and one that needs to be shared that would inspire a lot of us, myself included. Another reason too is I have a daughter who's 14 who lately has been talking about wanting to get into real estate. And so I'm hoping that, there'll be some information here that will inspire my daughter Tanatswa and, cause her to continue to grow interest in the field. So welcome, Lily. Love to just start by asking you to just tell us about yourself, your background, where you grew up, and, the process of emigrating to the United States. And we can just start there.
Absolutely. Thank you again for having me, Munatsi. It's a pleasure to share part of my story. We don't have a lot of time today, but I will start from where I grew up, was in El Salvador. That's a very small country in Central America. When I was about 19 years old, I decided pushed to move here. I was pregnant with my first daughter at the age of 19. I never in my wildest dream, growing up in El Salvador, thought of moving to another country and start all over again. To me, my family, my friends, my life, everything was back home. When I moved at the age of 19, I moved to a place where I didn't really know anybody. Just my ex-husband lived here at the time with his family. I moved with them, and I remember I was pregnant. I was alone. I felt lonely. I didn't have any money. I came here with nothing, literally a small suitcase, because I was pregnant, so my clothes didn't even fit me. I just brought a small bag, and I had my daughter at the age of 20, and many, many nights, probably as you and some other people who can relate to this, I cried. I was crying to sleep. I just wanted to go back home. I did not like it here just because it was different. The culture was different, the language. I couldn't even communicate with people. I remember when I came here, I didn't speak any English.
So you spoke no English when you came?
I spoke no English at all. The only thing I knew how to say was probably the numbers from 1 to 10, because they teach you that in basic school in El Salvador. And hi, my name is. That was it. I remember going to McDonald's for the first time, and I'm looking at the menu, and I felt stupid because I wanted to speak and say what I wanted. Right. I didn't know how to say other than burger and I know it's fries, but I said potato, burger and potato. Yeah. And she's like, you mean fries? Yeah. I was like, yeah. So things like that make you feel like this is not the place for me. I went back home after I had my daughter. I went with her. She was a newborn, 2 months old. And when I went back, and my parents told me at that time, they said, you don't need to live here. Like, we love you very much, but you understand the opportunities you have in America, not just for you, but for your daughter. And that was mainly the reason when I was like, okay, I'm going to suck it up and come here to America, and I'm going to do my best to provide her the best thing, the things I couldn't accomplish myself in my country. So I moved here, and again, I couldn't work because I didn't have papers. Yeah. I was married with somebody who got papers, but unfortunately, we put the wrong application. It took me years before I could get a green card. So I started working on whatever I could put my hands on. I was cleaning tables, and I had my daughter as a newborn, like basically sleeping on a bassinet when I was working in the restaurant, cleaning tables, serving tables. I remember my first tip, the first time I actually make money, somebody left me a $10 bill. Wow. And it was, to me, when I saw that $10, I was like, this is a lot of money. This in my country, this is a lot of money. Like, usually I saw the tips $1 and $2, and that was good. But when I saw that $10 tip, I was like, okay, there is more than opportunities here. Like, I start seeing the chances to become and do more, right? And I was cleaning houses. I was babysitting because, again, the only reason I have those jobs is because I could bring my daughter with me because I couldn't afford to have
Child care or
I
drop
couldn't.
off stuff,
I
right?
couldn't to the point. And this is sad because in El Salvador, my family, we weren't rich. We weren't poor. We're, blue collar people. My mom, she was a nurse. My dad always worked. But I remember when I got here, I didn't have insurance to have my daughter. So I went to Parkland to have her because the care was free, basically. I remember getting a government assistant to get her formula and things like that. And it was a little bit embarrassing. I didn't want to ask for help because I felt like this is no good. Like, we're not poor. Like, and I never had to ask for help. But you know what? You learn that you have to find the resources available to you at that moment to try to move forward. Yeah. So I was part of the WIC, which is a program for women and infants. Okay. They give you milk, they give you cereal. So it was, but I didn't want to be getting help. Yeah. It was painful to be receiving something free that it wasn't with my job. Yeah. So I started, like I say, I started like babysitting. I was cleaning houses. I would bring my daughter, try to just do something better for myself. The way I started learning English was by watching cartoons with her on television. Sesame Street, Teletubbies at the time. Yeah. Like, I remember like sitting with her as she's learning to speak. I'm learning to speak English too. It was cool. Like, people don't understand sometimes. I tried to watch the news on English. I could not understand anything. I was like, this is too fast. I can't do it. So I started watching, cartoons. And when I had time off, because I didn't have a car, we live in an apartment, complex, didn't have a car. I would take my daughter on the stroller and I would walk every day, probably like a mile and a half to go to the local library just to pick up books. Okay. English as a second language and motivational books. Because again, I had the time, but I was alone. I didn't know anybody. So I couldn't really go out with my friends. I really couldn't like go and hang out with other moms because I didn't know anybody. And even if I got to meet people, I didn't speak English. So most of the people I knew, we moved to Arlington. So I met a lot of people, but just like, hi, bye. Everybody was like going to their apartments, closing the doors. You don't get that. I don't know about your country. In my country, we open the doors to everybody. It's
the same.
If I see you and you're my neighbor, I invite you. We sit outside. We have, a drink. We invite you to eat. But here it's different. It is different. You don't get that. And nothing that is wrong. It's just so many people and people come and go. I come from that.
Everyone's working.
Everybody's working. I come from a small town where everybody. Everybody's, it's your neighbor. So it was different here. So from there, I did start taking a few classes at the University of Texas in Arlington, UTA. Okay. They have classes English as second language. Mm-hmm. So I would wait till the nighttime because my husband at the time, he was working during the day. I was either babysitting or with my daughter, and I will go sometime twice a week just to learn a little bit of English. Just a little bit, enough to defend myself. But it wasn't good enough and then I got a job by the divine intervention of God. It was a job for a company, AT&T. Okay. They were looking for bilingual representatives. They were looking for people that spoke Spanish.
So somebody was going to pay you now.
I was like, yes, I want to start this career, like learning, with what I know with Spanish. I went, did the interview. The first interview was in Spanish. Okay. So I got it 100%. I was like, I got this. Like, I was happy, right? The second interview was in English, but thanks God it was in person because I remember the only thing I knew at the time is like very basic English. Mm-hmm. And the one thing it was a call center. Okay. And the manager asked me, so something about how would you treat the customer? And I say, sir, I would treat the customer like I would treat my grandmother, with respect and love. And I think that was it. That was where they were like, they were really in need of people, or they were like, okay, she has a pretty strong accent, but she's going to be fine. Okay. I started training at the company. When I started training, the first thing they said at the first day in training, it was like, you're going to have to be taking English calls. I said, in my head, I'm thinking, I can't speak English. I can't do this. Like, I went home. My mother, she was visiting and she was helping me. At the time, I already had my second child. She was helping me with the kids, whatever she could, come from El Salvador and help. And I went home and I said, Mom, I can't do this. I don't speak English. And she just looked at me to say, number one, you're not a quitter.
Okay.
Number two, you stay there till they fire you. 15 years later in that company, I stayed there.
Okay, so
And
they
it
did
was
not
one of,
fire you.
no, they didn't fire me, thanks God. But I had amazing people, a good network of people along the way. The training class I was in, they were bilingual.
Okay.
Most of them were actually born in America. So they were second or third generation Mexican American or Hispanic. They helped me because I was in training. The trainer is giving us the class. I had no idea what he's saying because I could catch up a few things, but I couldn't really understand. So when we started taking calls, we did it in the training class and somebody was sitting with you so they could help you and learn from each other. So one of the girls at the training, she helped me the whole time I was taking calls. When I pick up the phone, she will tell me what to tell people. She was telling me, writing down, because one of the things you will have to ask for their social security number. And I was like, what's your social? And they will give me the numbers. I couldn't even understand the numbers because I was so nervous. She was writing down. She's like, say this, tell them this. And I would just repeat what she was telling me. It was like English 101, like in a rush. So I was just repeating that. And it was hard. It was really hard.
I can imagine.
Especially because I was dealing with a lot of people from the Midwest taking payments because their phone bill or the home phone was disconnected for non-payment.
So these are not happy people.
And they hear somebody,
With
my
an accent
accent was very strong, even stronger then. My English was terrible. And you call me to try to pay your bill because you're very upset.
Now they feel like there's a communication barrier. So
It was, you know what? It was a blessing that I didn't know English as much as I do now, because I promise you, I got cursed so many times because I didn't know. I was like, thank you, sir. Thank you. Have a great day. I was like, okay, that's awesome. So it was hard, you know, it was really hard. And I think the biggest challenge is when you start meeting people, like at this workplace, it was a large number of people that is great people. And sometimes people don't mean bad, but the comments they made make you feel inferior. Like, oh, you have a pretty strong accent. Were you from Mexico? Like, that's the first impression. And it doesn't matter where you're from. It's the first thing when they ask, like they meet, you meet somebody and the first thing they say, instead of like, oh, so nice. Oh, you have a pretty strong accent. Where you from? Like, that's the first thing. And you feel like, okay, that's my identity now. I have a pretty strong accent. And I wanted to talk to them and tell them.
You want them to get to know you, right?
I want them to get to know me because I knew I was a smart person in Spanish. Like, I wanted to talk to them. I wanted to communicate. I wanted to have conversation and show them how smart I was, but I couldn't. So they kind of like look at you like, yeah, you're dumb. You're not dumb. You just don't know how to communicate. Exactly. And sometimes in my head, I'm like, oh, I wish you speak Spanish. I can have a conversation with you. So that forced me to learn English. To, you know, it was one step at a time. And I'm glad because that actually was the best university I could really have, the University of Life, where you get knocked down. I remember being in a team meeting, and there is moments, I'm sure you have moments. Remember being in a team meeting and I say something. I say, can you pass me that piece of paper? Can you pass me that sheet? And they say, oh my God, you say shit. Everybody's laughing. And I'm like so embarrassed. I was like, no, I didn't mean to say that. Like the pronunciation, even now, sometimes it's like, oh, taking calls on a call center, that was the biggest thing for me to learn English. I was taking about 100 to 120 calls a day. Wow. Was calls after call. Most people will correct me whenever I ask them to pay the bill or I say something. They were like, oh, you mean, and they will repeat it. And so I started learning. Again, most people were really nice. So
you didn't take it personally when people corrected you?
No, I didn't. I actually took it like a blessing. Like, okay, you're teaching me, you know, how to learn. This is my learning. I want this because that way I can try and do it better next time. So it was kind of like that learning experience. So I never took it personal. Again, there is some people who were like extremely cruel and mean. I mean, they will tell me, you know, you freaking immigrant, go back to your country. I can understand what you're saying. And it was hurtful. But I was like, you know, I was just thinking this person is upset because their phone bill is disconnected. I don't know their situation. So I never really took it personal. It was just like you develop some thick skin. You develop some thick skins when you go to 3 different scenarios. And I remember trying to then, after I was at the call center, I was trying to get promoted to go and work as an assistant for the same company, as an assistant at the downtown area, because a lot of the people at the call center, a lot of the girls I knew, they were getting promoted. Everybody was getting promoted. I wasn't getting promoted. I applied for assistant positions 70 times.
70.
70. It was like job openings and I will apply, zero,
Never
zero,
got it.
never got it. And you know what? That's the one thing you learn. I think we're very resilient. Like we push forward, We don't let things, situations or people put us to the side. We just keep pushing. So I applied 70 times and I never really got help from anybody. But one time I met, again, another divine intervention. I met somebody who was as a VP, vice president for AT&T in the downtown office where I was trying to go. I met him, brought the kids to a Cowboys camp. It was promoted by the company. Didn't even know who he was. I always talk to people now because I just like to hear people's stories and what they do. So he did tell me he was looking for an assistant.
Okay.
I was like, well, I put my resume like 69 times already and I haven't get anything. I was like, he said, just send me your resume. I said, great. That was the 70th time. First time I got an interview.
Wow.
It was the first time. And I can tell you, he probably thought I was a good person, but I wasn't really qualified for the job. Again, my English wasn't the best. My grammar, and this is an assistant position to help a VP with emails and communication. So it was, I think it's either he felt sorry for me because I applied so many times, or he is one of those people who see you as you are.
Who you really are.
Yes, as a person.
You could just use a little helping hand.
Absolutely. He saw the desire I had to get better, and I didn't have that opportunity. So he gave me the opportunity, and I started working at the downtown area. And there is always a group of people, especially females. They see you, and sometimes they think you're not good enough. You shouldn't be here. You shouldn't because you don't speak English. Because what are you doing here? So I felt that a little bit to the side, a little bit, I didn't take it personal. I was just going to work, trying to do my best, learn. A lot of mistakes. I feel terrible for this VP, which I'm always grateful for the opportunity. But I did a lot of mistakes writing. That it was no AI to correct my emails. It was just me. And what I used to do, because it has to be very professional emails, I will send it to another good friend that I knew there. Yes, I was like, can you please proofread this before I send it to the VP or to the team or whoever, and she will do it. She will absolutely help. That's what it's important. I do think when you come to this country and you start developing networks of friendships, people who can help you. You have to find it. Even though we feel lonely, because I did, you have to find those people who actually, maybe they've been there, maybe they haven't, but they know they can help you. They can lend you a hand just to help you, just to read the email and make sure it was correct. Okay. Now with AI, we can do that.
Of course.
Easier. But she will help me. And I remember when I decided then to become a real estate agent, I was still working.
So I was going to ask you, what led to you deciding, but before I ask that next question. So when you came, you had no family. It was just you. And then for the first few years, it was, your mother would come sometimes to help you with the kids.
Correct.
And go back. Yes. But you really had no siblings or aunts or uncles or anyone that you and the family you married into. Well,
yep, that was it. Just no friends. I didn't know anybody.
Starting from scratch.
Basically, I started from scratch at the age of 20. That's when I had my daughter. So that's when I always knew, since I was very young, age 13, 14, I was working back in El Salvador. I was trying to help the neighbors. If they had a little market,
Always being helpful.
Always being helpful. I always wanted to start working, making my own money. Okay. And at the age of 15, I started working at a radio station. My dad used to work at a radio station, so I became kind of like a DJ. So I worked there for a few years. It was fun. Okay. But again, I was making my own money so I could buy my own shoes and whatever I wanted because I wanted to, just have things at the time. So when I was working here at AT&T, and at that point I had the 2 kids and I got divorced throughout that process, again, alone because I didn't have anybody to help me. Then I remarried. Okay. Somebody I met at AT&T. By this time, I have 4 kids.
Okay. So now at the end of the 15 years that you were at AT&T,
I have 4 kids. I have 4 kids.
And then now at this point, what made you start thinking about real estate?
So for many years, I got my license I got my license in 2011 when I still was working at AT&T full time. And for many years, I knew I wanted to do something else. Sometimes you feel this calling to do something else or a passion, help people do things. You just can't because you feel stuck. And I remember talking to my parents and bless their hearts. My mom, every day driving to work, I will talk to her on the way back. On the way to work, I will listen to motivational podcasts.
Okay.
I would listen to Tony Robbins. I would listen to Joel Osteen. I would listen just to fill my head with
Get
positivity.
your mind and your spirit in the right place.
Yes, because it was hard. Again, every day was a challenge. I still was learning English. I didn't have a lot of friends where I was working at. I feel like, the solo person who was coming to work, doing the best and just leaving. On the way back, every day I used to talk to my mom and I used to tell her, I thinking I'm going to get this real estate license and I'm going to sell houses and I'm going to do this and that. And your parents, I don't come from money. So for them, money is not necessarily, money can be evil. Just focus on what you have now. And I did. I was grateful for what I had. I have a really good job. She's like, don't leave that job. Don't leave your corporate job.
And I think for us, even, how I grew up in Zimbabwe, my parents were part of a generation that valued, that job security.
That job security, that was the blanket.
There were many people that maybe started with a company at age 20 or 21 and worked for that company all their lives. And so in their minds, AT&T is a big company, they pay you on time every time and this, and you've...
Great insurance,
Yeah, great insurance. You've been promoted a couple of times. And so, why would you leave that? And it's hard sometimes to understand.
So, it was really like, for them, it was like, no, just stay there till you retire. Just stay all the way till you retire, you get your pension, and then you do whatever you want with real estate. And I was like, okay, fine. And they keep telling me that, and they keep telling me that. But this little voice inside of me, this desire was like, I want to do more. Like, I want to do more. And I was selling houses part-time, but I was working way more than a full-time agent, even though I was part-time. By 2016, my mother, she died in January. And this is thank you. This is one of the things people don't realize sometimes, especially when you have moved from another country here. It's those moments when you have to go back to your country just to go to a funeral. That's the worst. That's, I went back for my grandmother's funeral. And I felt terrible because I wanted to go visit her for Mother's Day, and I couldn't. I couldn't go. I was still waiting for my papers. I went back for my brother's funeral in 2011, and then I went back for my mother. So those moments, it's like you don't want to eat just going back to your country for funerals. But it happens because you get so busy here. 2016, she died in January. And at that moment, I went back to El Salvador. I held her hand. She was already in a coma. And I just talked to her and myself, and I say, life is too short. Mom, I understand you don't want me to leave my job, but I'm going to do it. Because this is what I want to follow my passion. One day I'm going to die. And I don't want to be an old person and regret the opportunities I did have and I didn't take. So 2016, in July 31st, 2016, that was my mother's birthday, I left my job. I completely left AT&T, and I said, you know what, I'm just going to swing completely. It's either when you jump, people tell you, you're going to do this leap of faith. That's exactly what I did, because I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know if I was going to be good or if I want to fail in real estate. I remember my manager telling me at the time, she's like, why you don't just take 6, and this is another manager because I got another promotion, by the way. She told me, she said, why you don't just go out for 6 months or a year, and then you have your job here.
So don't quit your job, just unpaid leave.
Just take unpaid leave for a year, and then we can have you back if things don't work out. And I remember Tony Robbins saying, if you're going to go, you need to cut. Like the rope from the, you just need to go. It's either, you're going to jump.
You're either all in or you're not.
You're going to fly or you're going to fall. But I didn't want to have that cushion to know that I could come back. Because if I did, then I probably wouldn't have go like full speed. I say, no, I appreciate all the love. And, I was with them for 15 years. This is it. I'm leaving. And I left. And I went full time in real estate in 2016. And at the time, I started doing, selling houses. I was selling about 40 houses a year.
In 2016? Yeah. In your first year?
That was of being full-time.
You were 40 houses a year?
Yes. 2017, my goal, the first thing I did, and if you can do that, please do it, get a coach, a mentor, or somebody who can guide you on what you want to do. Somebody who's been there, done that, because there is so many roads to get. But if you just get somebody to help you and tell you, okay, this is the easiest way. It's not going to be easy, but it's the easiest, simple way to do it. And I did get a coach. By 2017, I was the #1 agent in Keller Williams. I sold 77 houses that year.
in 2017, your second year of being
Full-time.
full-time, sold 77 houses, and you were the number one agent in
Yes,
Keller Williams.
Keller Williams, DFW. Keller Williams,
Wow.
yeah, it's one of the biggest market center here in South Lake because I was just focused on working. I was just working. And then we can talk about 2018, how I started my business, because that's another story.
I'm fascinated by the story you're sharing, the obstacles you overcame. And as you're talking, there's so many people that are coming in mind that as soon as this episode is ready, that I'm calling directly and saying, hey, I'm sending this to you. I need you to watch this and listen to this because what you're sharing is going to inspire so many people. So thank you for opening up on that.
Absolutely.
So you quit your job at AT&T. 2016, you sold 40 houses.
About 40 houses.
2017, 77 houses, and you're already the number one agent in Keller Williams.
Yeah.
And at this point, you've obviously been a licensed realtor for a number of years because you started part-time as you were working still at AT&T.
Correct.
And so you start thinking about starting your own business, building your own brokerage, so to speak. Talk to us about kind of what led to that and just that whole process of going from working under the umbrella of an entity, a brokerage like Keller Williams, to saying, look, I think I can do this on my own and I want to.
So what happened is, I was with Keller Williams. It's a great company to be with. By 2017, 18, I was so busy. I mean, I was closing close to 100 houses a year. By myself, no assistant, no other agent. So I came to my husband and I say, I need help. I need help because there is deals falling through the cracks and I can't reach out to everybody. And at the time, remember, we have 4 kids plus my stepson. We have 5 kids under the ages of 15. So he was very helpful with me and very gracious to let me go work and do what I wanted to do. But I did tell him I need help. So when I say I need help, I wasn't really planning to open my own company.
Okay.
I did want to have my own team within the big umbrella of a big brokerage. And my husband, he took a leap of faith back then, 2018 as well, because he was working for AT&T. He had like 17 years. He was a executive in the downtown area as well. Mm-hmm. So but he saw what I was doing and he saw what I was starting, like the capability that I had. He decided to quit his job and to come and help me.
Wow.
So basically what he does, initially was thinking maybe he can get a real estate license as well to help me. Then we saw we had the potential to recreate what the other broker was doing, but be able to deliver our own message. Okay. Because even though you work with companies like Keller Williams, RE/MAX, it's still corporate. It's still a lot of people. I wanted to have something more intimate, more like family culture, something smaller. I never expect, or either now I tell you, I don't think we're ever going to become so big that we're going to be a big company where I don't know the name of the people that works with me. I want to always know who they are, how they came here, be able to greet you in the morning and say your name. And a lot of companies, they don't have that. So 2018, we started our own brokerage. I got my broker license, and we decided to start just me and him. We hire an assistant to help me. That was it. Organically, we start attracting agents to come and work with us. For the same reason, some people who saw what I was doing, I was working nonstop and I was being very successful. So the first year I got about 5 agents. And then that was in 2018 when we established Moore Realty as a brokerage. And now we are one of the top teams in the DFW area. We are actually number 3 out of the largest team in the whole
Dallas-Fort Worth area. Number 3.
Number 3. Yes. So that's a blessing, but it does take a lot of work. And that's what a lot of people don't realize is whenever you start your own business, you think, well, I'm going to get even, real estate or my own business because I want flexibility, because I want to have some time off. We haven't really taken time off since 2018 till 2021, we didn't take any time off. Like vacations, I think we had our first vacation in 2021, but it was because we still are working very hard and growing the company, but we don't work 40 hours a week. We work about 80 hours a week. Like when people tell you that, and everybody wants to be an entrepreneur, business owner, because they think it's glamorous and they think it's just all fun. No, when things are going great, everybody's celebrating it, but we're still working when things start going bad, regardless if you selling houses or not in my business, I still have to pay my employees.
100%. You still have to pay rent on your office.
Things like that. People don't realize, well, if you're an employee, it's whoever you're working with, they still have to pay
I
you.
just need a check
Just
on
give me
time.
my check every 2 weeks, and I don't care what's going on here, good or bad. But when it's going bad, you have to get money sometime out of your own pocket to pay your employees. And not just that, like a lot of the things we do, and I don't like to post it on social media, but we like to help out. So, either employees or people when they need help. My dad always taught me, whatever your right hand does, don't let your left hand knows. Because when you do a good deed and you post it on social media, then it's for the views. It's not because you're really coming.
It's public relations at that point, right?
Exactly. That's PR, correct. It's no, we do a lot of things like that, not just for employees, but for people who personally know, people sometimes who reach out and ask for help. So it was challenging. It's different, especially when you get to work with your other half. Working with my husband,
I can see some pros and cons.
I think it's great. People's like, oh, I can get to work with my husband. Yes, I love him. But when it comes down to business, that's a different animal, because you talking business at the office, you go home and you start talking business. And sometimes we are family dinners and I was talking business, he was talking business. So it got to the point where we're like, okay, pause. Like, we need to stop talking about work, especially when we're out with the kids having dinner or at home. Like, let's ask them about their day. Let's ask them how they're doing, but we need to stop. So we did draw that line, because it was getting a little bit too much of just business. But it was really hard and challenging, at the beginning. And people come and go, agents, employees. And that's, I think, the hardest part, because imagine in your business, you train your people and you train them well.
Yeah, and just when sometimes it feels like just when the training is starting to bear fruit,
they leave you.
Somewhere to go. So
correct. They have other opportunities.
Move to another state or another country or whatever. And, and so as a business owner, you've got to be able to keep it moving.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you know what? I think also, not just as a business owner, as a Latina, because that's the thing, real estate and being a Latina, a lot of people have stereotypes. Like, whenever I talk about opening my business, people saw me, number one, you're an immigrant. You still have an accent. Second, you're a woman. You don't know business. They see you like you don't know what you're going to be doing. And I'm the kind of person, that's what I like to still, until this point, listen to motivational tapes, listen to other people who has been so successful regardless of their obstacles, because it put me in the right mindset. In the mornings, I listen to it, because to me, it gets down to now, it's no, who's going to let me, but who's going to stop? When I really want to do something, you better believe it's going to happen. Because I put all my love
you used to ask, who's going to let me? Or a lot of people think, who's going to let me?
Who's going to let me do
But then the right mindset is actually, who's going to stop me?
Right. So you have to overcome, and sometimes as a woman, it's hard because we have our own challenges. Just as a female, we have our kids we have to take care of. We have to take care of our house, our husband. And then on top of that, you have to get out and be a businesswoman. And you have to do it. And can you do it? Absolutely. When people tell me, there is no life-work balance, it's really hard. It is hard. And I always say this, I work like nobody else. My work ethic is really high. I get up in the morning, work out. I have my morning routine, come to the office every day, meet clients, work on the weekends. But the moment my kids call me or somebody that I care about needs me, you better believe everything is going to drop and I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there. So that's my work-life balance. Whenever I have the time with my kids, I'm there.
And that's where now being a business owner comes in. Because if you work for a big corporation, sometimes situations happen and somebody calls and they need you, but you really don't have everything. But when you are the business owner, you can ask your assistant, hey, those appointments I have for the rest of the day, please just call and
absolutely. That's the benefit. Yes, absolutely, of being your own boss, because you can move things around. You don't have to drop clients or anything. But when it comes to family, that's priority. That's number one thing. And I do what I do because of them. I do want to create this legacy for them. So when I'm tired and I'm defeated and things go wrong and I just want to quit, I remember what's my purpose? Why am I doing what I'm doing?
You remember your why.
You have to have your why. For me, I say from the beginning, the most important thing was my family, to provide for my kids, to have dreams and aspirations and follow them because they are, even though I don't have to be teaching them constantly, this is what you need to do, this is what you need to do, they're watching me. They see what I'm doing. They know, my work ethic is going to be unmatchable to anybody. And I want them to learn from seeing what they see. And I think so far, I'm very blessed that, part of my legacy for my kids right now, I have 2 working in our company as employees, which it's a big accomplishment. And then I have my son, he just went to college. He won a business degree because he wants to become part of the company.
Okay.
My daughter, she wants to be an history teacher. Great, good for her. Eventually, maybe she comes here as well. And now we're expecting our first grandchild. So thank you. And I'm thinking, I have another reason to work harder.
You want to build this company so that your grandkids have the
Absolutely, he got the option. I really hope he's a surgeon or something. But I want to leave them a legacy that they can start. They don't need to start from scratch like I did when I moved to this country. It is hard.
I love it. That's awesome. You've been fantastic, Lily. I've really enjoyed this. Could you just tell us as we wrap up a little bit about, now I don't know how much of this is confidential information, but I'd love to know kind of how big your business is now. Because I think I've got a lot of people that will watch this that I would love for them to get some kind of perspective of the size of the business you've built. I don't know what metrics or what information you can share.
Absolutely. No, just to give you metrics, because this is what we do in real estate. My team right now, we have 25 agents, 25 independent agents. I have 6 people in staff, 2 additional overseas that we do employee. They work for us. Okay. We close about 400 houses a year.
400 houses a year.
In the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And I think the best is yet to come. I think we just grow. And again, we started the company in 2018. I do feel like, yes, we are successful, but there is always room to grow. Because I see other companies and companies that I respect and I admire. They've been in the business 25, 30 years, and we already passed them. When it comes down to numbers of closings and things like that, I think we can get better. One thing I can tell you, and this is to me, it was incredible. Like I said to you, from that moment I got that $10 bill, I realized there is so much wealth. To me, that was wealth. Seeing $10, then $100, then $1,000. And then you just remember 10,000, 100,000. The sky is the limit whenever you come to this country. It is really the land of opportunities. It is what you put in every day, you can reap the rewards later. It doesn't happen overnight.
So you sow for the future. Yeah.
Exactly. And we still, sowing more to reap on the future because it is going to happen. Right now, I'm beyond grateful and blessed for all the things we have done. We recently, a few years ago, we moved to a community locally where I would never in my wildest dream would think of living.
Oh, like that you would actually be able to live in a community like that. Right.
Never. I remember driving through that community one time to meet somebody who invited me, and she invited me to go to a Bible study. And it was a gated community with a car outside. Who opened the door, and I was like, "What is this?" Right?
This is incredible. Right?
It was amazing. And I drove to the gate, looking around, and I just called my husband and I say, "If I ever move, this is the place where I want to live. This is just." Incredible things you see in the movies. And it's to me, when we had the opportunity to buy a house there a few years ago, I still walk around in the neighborhood looking around and just saying, how this happened?
You cannot believe it. No. Yeah. And you look back to that 15-year-old girl in El Salvador who was, DJ and helping people around, and it's amazing because
I can show you the pictures of my house in El Salvador even now, and it's like, this is incredible.
I'm really, really happy for you and your family. Congratulations on all the, everything that's happening. Your wonderful success. It's an inspiration to me and to many people that will watch and listen to this interview. Final thing, if people want to be able to reach you, say somebody is out there and they, have a property they want to put on the market or they want to buy, or, somebody who may be interested in, even learning about working with you guys at some point. What's the best way to reach you?
The best way to reach me anywhere online, you can find me under Moore Realty. Instagram, Facebook, website, TikTok, anywhere. And just to close, if somebody's seeing this, because I do get a lot of people reach out to me, please know I'm going to get back to you. I don't have some time all the time of the work, but I promise, because it's important for me to also lend a hand in if somebody has a question about becoming an agent or becoming an entrepreneur or just questions about life. I love to share my story, but most importantly, do know you are very special in the accent, and the difference is our uniqueness to create something different.
So it's an asset, not a liability.
It's not. For many years, I did think, and I hated to have an accent. I really hated it. I was like, I wish I didn't. But now I embrace it. I love it. And I'm so proud because that's what makes me different.
That's it. I love it. I think that's a perfect place to stop. Thank you so much for watching this interview or listening to this interview. Please continue to follow us. You'll find us on the Immigrates on Instagram, on TikTok, we're on Twitter. The website is immigrates.net. Please follow us. You can catch us wherever on your favorite podcast player. Follow us, subscribe so you can get alerts whenever we drop new episodes. And again, reach out too if you have questions or comments, or even if you know of other immigrants that are doing incredible work that we could interview and spotlight and just celebrate their success and their uniqueness together. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Until next time.